I do remember before the pandemic, you were showing us plans. You were showing us computerized plans.
Yes.
I think that included this one, a part of which was already put up. If I recall correctly, tama ba?
Yes, yes. The project that won for the NCCA Haliganang Dangal is only a component of the larger master plan for Ortigas CBD. And this section was built by the city of Pasig, which is a 320 meter stretch of elevated walkway from the corner of ADB and Julio Vargas all the way to the end. And since there was no open space in Ortigas, we proposed that an elevated plaza be built, and it was built by the city to provide this node or this open area in the middle of the section. And the section will eventually connect Mega Mall on one end by EDSA and Meralco Avenue on the other end, and across to the call centers down below Julio Vargas. But this is just about 1/3 of a larger system that includes the Ortigas Greenway, which is funded by ADB and the DOTR, which has not been completed yet. The drawings and the design have been completed by us, but it is yet to see implementation. So this section, which we completed actually a few years ago, has seen much use, and people like it. And in fact, it's very useful, especially in the pandemic, because it allows you. What we found out is that a lot of the commuters, once they get to EDSA MRT, a lot of them would have to take FX just to get to their offices inside the Ortigas Business District. But this system allows them, and eventually will allow everyone who reaches EDSA MRT to just walk in to the Central Business District, which is only about 500 meters from the EDSA MRT, and not have to take another ride, cutting their last mile commute to about 5 to 10 minutes instead of the 20 to 30 that they're now experiencing. So this one side on Julio Vargas cuts down a lot of the commute time for the last section of a lot of people's commute from the MRT or EDSA to their offices within the Ortigas CBD district. So we're really grateful that it's been recognized and given an award, and hopefully that will spur government to greenlight the other components of the system, because it needs to be completed if you expect everyone to walk. Theoretically, once you get to EDSA by rail or even by bike, you can just walk the rest of the way. Even if you were in a vehicle, you can park, and the plans are to construct multi-level parking garages at the edges of the CBD, much like what is happening in Makati CBD, the Central Business District in Makati, for which we are also involved. You can park at the many parking garages in the perimeter and actually walk all around Makati.
That'd be great.
Yes,
Sa Makati pa naman,
it's now,
hirap.
yes, in Makati, it's been a 20-year project since the early 2000s, late 1999 to early 2000s. We've been retrofitting that district to be more pedestrian friendly. And the lessons learned from there is being applied to Ortigas CBD. So it's not just us, it's several other consultants, but the concept is the same. Provide this elevated ground level and underground connections, so you do not need to ride a vehicle to do that last mile connection from your rail or train or bus to where you need to go. And if we had done it and completed this much earlier, it would have benefited more people. It would have provided more spacing, if you will, in that last mile from arriving at the district.
You're talking about the Ortigas Greenway section. You're saying this phase, this award-winning phase, should have paved the way for the completion of the Greenway section. Can you tell us more about it?
Yes, because what happened in the Pasig CBD is portions were completed and funded and completed by the City of Pasig in collaboration with the Business Owners Association, while the other component, which is the Ortigas Greenway, was an ADB-DOTR partnership. ADB paid for the design and the engineering, which we did, and DOTR was supposed to implement it, but it was shelved. I believe because of the reprioritization of the much larger build projects, because apparently, well, our project, the Greenways, would have cost less than 200 million, and which probably seems too small for them to think about, but the benefit is really equivalent to building a skyway, and it's much cheaper. So I don't know what happened. I really are not privy to the prioritization process that they had, but they could build it in 3 months if they wanted, and it's a very low-hanging fruit, and benefits a lot of people very quickly.
Well, apart from walking around, I want to ask you about this new trend. It's related to the pandemic. People are preferring alfresco dining, and even in the shopping areas, the commercial centers, they want the open areas. There's a very large one in the south. It's very popular. You think this is going to be irreversible, and what can developers learn from this?
Well, what we've learned, in fact, a number of the streets in Makati CBD have been closed on the weekends for alfresco dining. And it just proves the point that you, especially during the weekends when there's not much business traffic, you can actually shut down the streets, so you can have alfresco dining in alternate streets. So, which brings us to the concept of shared streets. And we, right before the pandemic, we were doing a study for Poblacion that sought to address the problems of access by cars. And we found that we could close a good number of the streets so long as we provided for some parking at the perimeter. And the dining establishments will benefit from a streets are essentially fully pedestrianized. I mean, it allows the residents of the houses in Poblacion access, but most of the street, as in the streets in Northern Europe, in Denmark, Sweden, and are use the concept of Wunderf or shared streets. That means you have limited access for vehicles, but most of the street is used by pedestrians. That's what you see in a lot of the tourist destinations when you go to Europe, the small towns in Italy and France. They have shared streets, so it's a paradigm shift in how we, or going back to how we used to. That streets were really for people and not just for cars. Today, our streets are for cars and jeeps and buses, and the pedestrians are marginalized by this shift in focus to vehicular traffic rather than pedestrian traffic.
You think property developers are actually taking note of this, or they're just waiting for the pandemic to be over and everyone will go back to the air-conditioned commercial centers?
No, I believe a lot of them are already recalibrating and accepting the fact that the future will be a future where we have to anticipate the recurrence of some type of epidemic or a pandemic. And so a good number of us consultants have been approached by our clients, and we've recalibrated a number of township designs to allow for more space in mixed-use lifestyle centers, exactly for that, to provide more space for outdoor dining, to allow for better pedestrian connectivity so you don't have to take a car everywhere. I think all of them are now anticipating a new normal where a premium would be, especially if you live in a dense condominium, premium will be the provision of enough open space so that if anything happens, you do have access to all of this amenities that in other cities would be normal, but here we have a lack